Should I buy a house or just rent? With the current changes in our economy and the housing market, rates have actually increased and there's an impending question about a crash in the housing market.
The housing market is rock solid.
Now, is it a good time to buy or a really bad time to buy? We'll answer that question. Welcome to Achieving Success Through Failure. A couple of years ago, I met someone who was also renting and asked her if she was buying a house. And she said, well, the prices are quite high. I'm going to wait for a market crash. Well, guess what? People are saying that the housing market is about to crash, prices are going down, but the catch is interest rates are up. What does that mean? So looking at a house, which is around $499,000, it's a 3-bed, 2-bath house at $1,285. Current mortgage is adjusted at $2,676 with current interest rate at 5.93%. Looking at everything else, property taxes, HOA, and insurance, we'll make some adjustments if we actually paid 3%, which was our current interest rate a couple of months ago or a year ago. That significantly drops the price to $1,982, which is more than $600 difference. At current rate, at 6%, is $2,693. But when we actually look at the original price when it was posted, it was $525,000. So even at a higher price with a lower interest rate, you could see that there's still close to $400 to $500 difference. And even at $550,000, which is $50,000 difference, the price per monthly is still staggering. Well, technically, if you're going to be financing your house, the amount of monthly that you're going to be paying for your mortgage for the similar price would actually be higher. Even though you get a house at a slightly discounted rate or even a good discounted rate, the question is, are you paying more with a higher interest? And with the question of, are the feds going to keep on raising interest, which is most likely, then would it actually be more prudent to buy a house right now? So in comparing that between buying a house and renting, the first question that you have to answer is, if you are currently renting but considering buying a house, are you ready?
Are you ready? That goes in the files. Are you ready? Let's get it all!
You have to be ready, in which you have to have your finances all settled, depending on how you're going to finance the house, how much money you're going to put down, what type of loan you're going to borrow from, and do you actually have enough reserves both for your monthly and for your capital expenditures. What are capital expenditures? These are big ticket items. Of course, when you buy a house, there's going to be an appraisal and an inspection. An inspection goes through the house, in which you could negotiate any defects in the house to actually lower the price, so that you can actually have the current owner pay for its repairs. So, however, once you've actually bought the house, anything that breaks down, like major issues with roofing, issues with AC, those are things that may actually hurt your budget. So you have to take that into consideration. If you buy one that you can't afford, that's where people go under and go into a foreclosure process. And that's even worse than you renting. The 5 benefits of renting is it gives you flexibility, number 1. Number 2, when you actually sign your lease, your rent doesn't change until you're due for your next renewal. Number 3, if something breaks down, there is no capital expenditure, as I just mentioned. Number 4, the cost of renter's insurance is drastically cheaper than a property insurance. And lastly, number 5, if you actually invest the money that you're using not to pay the rent, some people say that you'll actually be able to make more money. But that's a whole different scenario.
I'm going to suggest to you that the best thing you can do is rent where you live.
But if you're planning to build wealth, I would say if you're ready, buy your first home.
Can't wait.
Right now is the best time to buy a house in the next 5 years.
Why? Well, there are a lot of benefits of owning a house. If you are comfortable and you can actually pay for the capital expenditures and you buy it right, as we talked about it before, leverage is a great thing. If you have your numbers right and your monthly is something that you can tolerate, and owning a house doesn't stress your finances, then using leverage for money to work for you is going to be great. Doing the math on that one is super important, because if you can buy a house and then eventually it will appreciate in value over time, it fulfills 2 things. You're repaying the house while you're actually in there. Number 2, you got some tax deductions with your interest rates that you're paying. If you bought a house at a good location and a good price, then these are things that may help you in the future with your exit strategies. What do I mean? Well, after 12 months, if you decide, you can actually move out and decide, hey, I want to get a different house and maybe consider this one as a rental property. And if the numbers are working for your favor, then you can actually compute and produce cash flow
What my rich dad taught me.
from that one, which would then help you even pay your own mortgage in your own house. Number 2, if you do that and lived in the house more than 2 years and then rented out less than 5 years, which is actually what my mentor had told me to convince me buying this house, is you are able to actually get your capital gains, $250,000 for single and up to $500,000 tax-free. Well, if it does appreciate that way, I think that's a great deal, because where else would you actually make money that much that's not going to get taxed? People could talk about stocks all day, but unless it's in a retirement account, most of the time it's always going to get taxed. And it could be taxed all the way up to 37% if you're in the highest bracket. And the third benefit is once you actually convert it into a business property, you can actually keep it and then depreciate the house and get a lot of tax benefits. So there's also a lot of other benefits, such as tax savings from deductions that you can get from owning a rental property. And I think in this aspect, with it giving you multiple exit strategies, and just by owning a house can actually start you in building your rental portfolio in the future, which is what some people do as house hacking. And for people who are starting, I think it's a great strategy to actually get into the housing market. But the most important thing that you have to consider is actually consider buying the right house at the right price, at the right location. You have to weigh in what really matters. At the end of the day, you're going to decide what matters to you, what you can afford, what your risk tolerance for benefit ratio is.
Going to be able to refinance.
On all my loans?
What do you mean all your loans?
I have 5 houses and a condo.
So that if you're actually interested in growing, then you would do your due diligence, do the math, and buy your first house the right way. This is Paul Del Prado. Please click the like and subscribe button. If you guys have any comments, questions, or suggestions for future videos, please put it in the comment, and I'll see you next week.